The iron gate slams shut behind you, and the vibration travels through your bones like a death knell. You can taste the arena above dust, sweat, the metallic tang of blood mixing with the humid air of Rome in 80 AD, but you are not being led onto the sand. You are being herded beneath it, down into the tunnels where torchlight casts writhing shadows on damp stone walls. The roar of the crowd fades with each step, replaced by something far more sinister, silence punctuated only by the shuffle of bare feet and the occasional sob from the woman ahead of you. In your clenched fist, you hold a smooth river stone from your homeland, the last piece of a world that no longer exists. You keep it pressed against your palm until it cuts into your skin, a small pain to anchor you against the suffocating reality closing in. The other captives stumble forward in the darkness, and a question burns in your mind. Why were you spared the noonday executions? Why weren't you given the mercy of a quick death in front of the screaming masses? The answer, you will soon discover, is that what awaits you in these lightless corridors is considered far worse than any public end. The procession stops in a courtyard that reeks of leather, oil, and something else violence made routine. This is the Ludus, the gladiator school, where Rome's most valuable and volatile assets are forged. You and the others are shoved into a stone cell where water seeps through the walls, and you wait. Hours pass, the cold creeps into your bones, a stark contrast to the baking heat of the arena above. When the door finally opens, the man who enters is not a soldier, but something more calculating, a Lanista's administrator, a bookkeeper of flesh. He carries a wax tablet and holds a lantern that casts his face half in shadow, half in flickering orange light. He smells of sour wine and ink, the scent of a man who traffics in lives but never risks his own. He doesn't ask for names. Instead, he walks the line, inspecting each woman like livestock at market. One has her chin grabbed roughly, her mouth forced open so he can check her teeth. Another is turned roughly by the shoulder, assessed for strength and build. The administrator makes sharp marks on his tablet-coded notations that will determine each woman's fate. When he reaches you, you keep your head down, but your eyes remain sharp. You watch his hands, the position of the guards at the door, and you count the paces of the cell. Quietly, you slip the river stone from your fist into the rags tied at your waist. The man pauses, studying not your face, but your shoulders, your height, the calluses on your hands. He makes another mark, more deliberate than the others. Then he points to 3 more women and gestures toward the door. The rest are chained and led away back toward the tunnels, toward the slave markets, the sulfur mines, or worse, the lupanar brothels built into the arena's foundations where they will service the crowds between spectacles. But you and the chosen few remain. The door bolts behind you. You have not been spared out of mercy. You have been selected. Hours later, a scarred older servant enters with a stack of rough, dun-colored tunics. He throws them on the floor without a word and points. You are to change. This is when you understand. You are no longer destined for public sale. You now belong to the Ludus itself. You will wash the blood from fighters' gear. You will scrub the cells. And most importantly, you will serve the prima spadones, the champion gladiators. The rough wool tunic smells of lye and old sweat. As you pull it over your head, the cold stone presses against your stomach, a reminder of who you were. But Rome has other plans. You are no longer a person. You are a tool, a privilege, a comfort meant to keep the Ludus's most valuable and dangerous men manageable. You have been saved from one hell only to be locked inside another, one that operates in shadows and silence. The women are not prisoners of Rome, they are prizes for Rome's prisoners. And the true horror of what this means is only beginning to reveal itself. The Lanista summons the chosen women to his private office. It smells of cedar, wax, and oiled leather, the scent of wealth built on suffering. He is a man of cold calculation, and he does not shout his orders. He explains them. You are not servants, he states, not looking up from his ledger. Servants are cheap. You are investments. The Ludus, he explains, is a powder keg. His champions are worth more than a senator's villa, but they are violent, unstable, and superstitious. They need stabilizing influences. The women are to become Conor Bernale's official companions, barracks wives. They will share the champion's quarters, his food, his status. They will be protected from the guards, the lower-ranked fighters, and the market. This is the mercy he offers. But there is a price. They will no longer belong to themselves. They will be the property of a single man, a living reward to ensure his loyalty and keep his mind focused on the sand rather than rebellion. The Lanista singles you out. Your defiance is palpable in the room, an invisible challenge he cannot ignore. You, he says, his voice flat and businesslike, are for Vindex. The Gaul, our champion. It is a great honor. He has asked for you. You stand perfectly still. The room is silent except for the scratch of his stylus on wax. You look past him at the map of the empire hanging on the wall, and your homeland is nothing but a smear of ink in the corner, a footnote to conquest. When you finally speak, your voice is dry as bone. I serve no one. The Lanista does not get angry. He simply leans back in his chair and regards you with the patience of a man who has broken 1,000 wills. Serve, no, you will be long. Or you will be forgotten. What happens next is not violent, it is administrative, and somehow that makes it worse. The other women, heads bowed, are given oils, clean tunics, braided leather sandals. They are led to the champion's wing where warmth and relative safety await. But you are taken to the gatekeeper's cell, a stone niche carved into the main entrance of the Ludus. It is not a dungeon, it is a display case. You are given just enough water and stale bread to survive. The gate is a constant thunder of iron and wood as guards march past and fighters slick with sweat and blood from practice stream by, ignoring you completely. You are in the center of the world, yet utterly alone. This is soft pressure, calculated deprivation designed to break you. The Lanista wants you to see what the other women now have: warm food, clean rooms, the protection of their masters, and to understand what you have refused. But he has miscalculated. He does not understand that the cell is stone, and your homeland was stone. The hunger is a fast, and your people fasted. The silence is a vow. What he thought was a prison, you make into a temple, and the smooth river stone in your hand becomes your only scripture. But the isolation cannot last forever, because every evening, the champion Vindex walks past your cell, and he stops. He watches you through the bars with eyes that have seen too much death. And you watch him back, refusing to look away. The Lanista thought he could force you to belong to this man, but what happens when the monster decides he will not be refused? One night, everything changes. Vindex does not just look. He speaks to the gatekeeper, and a key grinds in the ancient lock. Your heart pounds as the gate swings open. You stand, the river stone clutched tight in your hand, ready for whatever end has finally come. But Vindex does not drag you to his quarters. He does not touch you. He simply gestures with his head, a silent command. Walk. You follow him through corridors you have never seen, past the polished champion's wing and the roaring forge of the armory. He leads you deep into the foundations of the Ludus, down stone steps worn smooth by centuries of feet, until you reach a subterranean storage cellar that smells of damp earth, old wine, and decay. It is lit by a single guttering oil lamp that casts enormous shadows on the walls. Vindex moves to the far wall where the stones are rough and unmodded. With practiced efficiency, he levers a large flat rock from its place. Behind it is a dark hollow cavity, and inside, resting on a bed of dry moss, are dozens of small, humble objects: a piece of wood carved into the shape of a boar, a braided loop of bright horsehair, a tarnished silver disc marked with a crescent, a shard of blue glass worn smooth by a foreign sea. Vindex reaches in and touches the small boar with a gentleness that seems impossible for hands that kill for entertainment. He looks at you, and though he cannot speak your language, words are not necessary. This is where we remember. This is the wordless rite of the forgotten. The hidden truth crashed over you like a wave. The Lanista thought he managed his fighters with rewards and punishments, with women and wine and the promise of freedom. But beneath his feet, the fighters and the captive women assigned to them have been building something else entirely, a silent, invisible world where their true selves can still exist. They are not master and slave. They are fellow prisoners, preserving the names and gods that Rome has tried to grind into dust. You look at the collection, then at the smooth river stone in your own palm. It is not just ballast anymore. It is a word, a name, a world. You step forward, and Vindex watches as you place your stone into the hollow, setting it carefully between the Thracian disc and the Gallic bore. He slides the heavy rock back into place. The wall is seamless. Your identity is safe. If you've made it this far, you understand that history is not just about empires and emperors, it's about the people who refuse to be erased. Subscribe and hit the bell to walk with us into the darkness others are afraid to see. Because the stories we uncover here are the ones that were meant to stay buried. Archaeological evidence confirms this conspiracy of memory. In 2003, excavations beneath the Gladiator barracks at Carnuntum in Austria uncovered small hidden caches within the walls of the living quarters, spaces just large enough for personal, non-Roman items concealed from official view. These were not storage areas, they were shrines. The fighters and their companions had carved out literal spaces in the architecture of their oppression to hide fragments of their former lives. The Litus was a business, and like any Roman business, it ran on records. Wax tablets for daily schedules, papyrus ledgers for profit and loss, surviving documents detail fighters by name, listing their victories, specialties, the cost of their feed, and their medical care. History is written in this ink, but it is also written in the gaps, the places where the ink suddenly stops. In the Lanista's private ledger, the entry for Vindex the Gaul is clean and precise. A string of victories noted in red ink, then nothing. The line is blank. There is no record of a final match in the arena. No note of sale to another Litus. No mention of a burial plot or manumission. It is a calculated void, as if the ink itself was forbidden. And the Dacian woman Yushi was never given a name in the books at all. She was just a number, a logistical asset tied to the champion's morale. When he vanished from the ledger, she vanished with him. The gatekeeper's cell is simply listed as empty, ready for sanitation. This is the second death, the cold, administrative erasure. There are no first-hand accounts from the barracks. The voices of the captives and champions are silent. There are only whispers found in the margins of other, more important histories. A single fragmented letter from a wine merchant visiting the Litus mentions significant trouble with the Gallic champion and a subsequent costly purging of the barracks inventory. But the details are lost. The papyrus is torn. The Lanisa's response is unrecorded. What we do know is this: the subterranean cellar, the one used as a hidden shrine, does not appear on any known floor plan of the Litus. During the next renovation of the barracks, it was deemed structurally unsound or simply inconvenient. It was filled with rubble, lime, and sand, then sealed. A new floor of concrete and tile was laid on top, a clean, practical surface for a new generation of fighters. Buried beneath it, the carved boar, the Thracian disc, and the smooth river stone were entombed. The gate slams shut, not one of iron, but of time itself. It seals them beneath the new foundations of the empire, under layers of pavement and progress and forgetfulness. The great Colosseum still stands, a testament to the victors. The Litus is forgotten dust, but the stones remain. The small, smooth river stone is still there, somewhere in the absolute darkness beneath modern Rome, waiting. A cold, hard ballast against the crushing final weight of silence. The woman who carried it, whose name was never written down, whose face was never carved in marble, exists now only in that stone. And in stories like this one, Rome built its glory on the backs of the nameless, but some things cannot be completely erased. Some defiance is too quiet to be crushed, some memories are too small to be found, and therefore, impossible to destroy. The captive women of the Litus were given a fate worse than death, not because of what was done to their bodies, but because of what was done to their names, their histories, their very existence. They were turned into tools, rewards, footnotes. But in the deepest dark, they found a way to remain human. They built shrines in the walls. They placed stones in the shadows. They remembered each other when Rome demanded they forget themselves. Leave a comment below. If you could place one object in that hidden shrine, something to represent who you are beyond what the world sees, what would it be? The stones are still waiting in the dark, and perhaps, in some way that defies the logic of empires and the passage of centuries, they are still being seen.